Oliver Reyes pushed through the hospital's exit doors just after 3 a.m., his body aching in ways that went beyond the physical. 16 hours. 2 codes. 1 patient they couldn't save. He could still feel the weight of compressions under his palms. Still hear the flat line. That meant someone's daughter wasn't coming home. The cold November air bit at his face as he crossed the empty street toward the parking garage, but he welcomed it. Anything to clear his head before the 20-minute drive back to an apartment that always felt too quiet. He took the stairs instead of the elevator, needing the burn in his legs to ground him. 6 flights up, his breath came hard and steady, each step a rhythm that pushed back against the exhaustion trying to drag him under. When he reached the rooftop level, he stopped to catch his breath, leaning against the concrete wall and staring out at the city lights stretched below like scattered embers. That's when he heard it, a sound so faint he almost missed it beneath the wind. Crying, soft and broken, like someone trying hard not to be heard. Oliver's training kicked him before his mind could catch up. He moved toward the sound, his boots scraping against the rough pavement, and then he saw her. A young woman standing at the edge of the parking structure, her back to him, her arms wrapped tight around herself. The wind pulled at her dark hair and the thin jacket that offered no real protection from the cold. She was maybe 19, maybe younger, and she was standing too close to the edge, her toes just inches from open air. His heart lurched. "Hey!" he called out, keeping his voice low and calm the way he'd been trained. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to come any closer. I just want to talk." She flinched but didn't turn around. Her shoulders shook harder. "Go away," she whispered, her voice barely carrying over the wind. "Please just go away." Oliver stayed where he was, holding his hands up even though she couldn't see him. "I can't do that. My name's Oliver. I'm a paramedic. I just finished a really long shift, and honestly, I could use someone to talk to. Would that be okay?" She didn't answer, but she didn't move either. He took that as permission to keep going. "I know you don't know me," he said quietly, taking one careful step forward. "But I've been where you are. Maybe not on a rooftop, but I've been in that place where everything feels too heavy to carry, where it feels like no one would even notice if you disappeared." "They wouldn't," she said, and the certainty in her voice broke something inside him. "No one would care. I would." The words came out before he could stop them, raw and honest. "I'm standing here, and I'm telling you I would care. And I think if you really wanted to do this, you would have done it before I got here. Some part of you is still fighting, even if it doesn't feel like it." Finally, she turned her head just slightly, enough for him to see her profile. She was young, painfully young, with tears streaming down her face and eyes that looked like they'd been crying for hours. "You don't understand," she said. "My whole life is a lie. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about who I am, it's all fake." Oliver took another step closer, moving with the same care he used approaching patients in crisis. "Tell me," he said. "Help me understand." She laughed, but it was a hollow, broken sound. "I found out today. My parents, the people I thought were my parents, they told me I was adopted. 19 years. 19 years, and they never said a word. They let me believe I was theirs, and the whole time—" Her voice cracked. "The whole time, my real mother gave me away. Didn't want me, and I don't even know who I am anymore." Oliver's chest tightened. He knew that particular kind of pain, the way it could hollow you out from the inside. "I lost my sister," he said quietly. "Her name was Elena. She disappeared 10 years ago, and I spent years looking for her, trying to find answers. And when I finally learned she died, it felt like losing her all over again, like everything I'd done to find her meant nothing." The girl turned a little more, her red-rimmed eyes finding his. "Did it get better?" "Some days," he admitted. "Some days it still feels like I'm carrying her ghost around. But I learned that grief doesn't mean the people we've lost didn't matter. It means they mattered so much that we're still feeling it. And that's not nothing." She looked back toward the edge, her hands gripping her arms so tight her knuckles were white. "I don't even have that. I don't have memories of her. I don't have anything except this stupid bracelet she left with me. And it's not enough. It'll never be enough." "Can I see it?" Oliver asked, his voice gentle. "The bracelet?" She hesitated, then slowly uncurled one trembling hand from around her arm. On her wrist was a small braided bracelet, worn and faded with age, made from colored thread in a pattern he would have recognized anywhere. Blue, green, and yellow strands woven together in the exact way Elena used to make them when they were kids. She learned it from their grandmother, spent hours sitting on the porch making bracelets for everyone she loved. The world tilted. Oliver's breath caught in his throat, and he had to brace himself against the concrete barrier to stay upright. "Where did you get that?" he whispered. "I told you," she said, her voice small. "It was with me when I was found. The only thing from my birth mother." Oliver's mind raced, pieces clicking together with devastating clarity. Elena had disappeared when she was 17. He'd been 23 then, working his first year as a paramedic, and when she vanished without a word, he'd searched everywhere, filed missing persons reports, followed every lead. It wasn't until 3 years later that a police officer showed up at his door to tell him they'd found her car at the bottom of a ravine, that she'd been dead for years. What they didn't tell him, what he'd never known, was that Elena had been pregnant, that somewhere in the chaos of her death, a baby had been born and placed into the system. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice barely steady. "Maya. Maya." He repeated it like a prayer. "How old are you?" 19. "I'll be 20 in March." The timeline fit. Everything fit. Elena would have been pregnant when she disappeared, would have given birth around the time they stopped hearing from her. And the bracelet Elena had made with her own hands, the one she would have given to the person she loved most in the world. Oliver took a shaky breath and moved closer, slowly lowering himself to sit on the cold concrete a few feet from where Maya stood. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay with me while I do. Okay? Can you do that?" She looked at him, confusion and fear mixing in her expression, but she nodded. "My sister Elena," he began, his voice rough with emotion. "She was 17 when she disappeared. We didn't know where she went or why she left. I spent years trying to find her, and when I learned she died, I thought that was the end of the story. I thought I'd lost everything I had left of her." He looked up at Maya, tears burning in his eyes. "But I was wrong. Elena didn't just leave. She was pregnant. And the baby she had, the baby they placed into foster care after she died, was you." Maya's face went pale. She shook her head slowly, backing up half a step. "No, that's not, you can't just." "The bracelet," Oliver said, his voice breaking. "Elena used to make those. She learned from our grandmother. That exact pattern, blue, green, yellow. She made one for everyone she loved. And if she gave you that bracelet, Maya, it means she loved you. It means you were wanted." "Stop," Maya whispered, but there was something desperate in her voice now, something that sounded like hope trying to claw its way out of the darkness. "You're just saying that. You don't know." "I know that bracelet," Oliver said firmly, rising to his feet, but keeping his distance. "I know my sister, and I know that she would never have given you up if she'd had a choice. She died, Maya. She died in an accident, and you were taken into care before anyone in our family even knew you existed. But you're here now. You're standing in front of me, and you're my sister's daughter. You're my niece, and I've been looking for you without even knowing it." Maya's legs seemed to give out. She sank down onto the concrete, her whole body shaking, one hand pressed to her mouth as sobs racked through her. "I thought no one wanted me," she choked out. "I thought I was thrown away." Oliver moved to her side, kneeling beside her on the cold rooftop. "You were loved," he said, his own tears falling freely now. "You were wanted. Elena loved you enough to make sure you had something to remember her by. And I," his voice broke, "I would have searched for you if I'd known. I would have found you. I would have brought you home." Maya turned toward him, her face streaked with tears, and for a long moment they just looked at each other. Two people bound by loss and blood, and a fate neither of them could have imagined. Then, slowly, she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were freezing, trembling, but they held on tight. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "I don't know how to be someone's family." "Neither do I," Oliver admitted. "But we can figure out together. One day at a time. One step at a time." He squeezed her hand gently, starting with stepping away from that edge. For a heartbeat, Maya didn't move. Then, with Oliver's hand steady in hers, she stood up. She took one step back from the ledge, then another. Then she let Oliver pull her into his arms, and they stood there on that cold rooftop. Two broken people holding each other together, crying for the sister and mother they both lost and the family they just found. "Come on," Oliver said finally, his voice hoarse but steady. "Let's go home." And as they walked toward the stairwell together, Maya's hand still clasped in his, the bracelet on her wrist caught the light, a small, faded reminder that love could survive even the darkest nights, and that sometimes the family you're searching for is searching for you too.